Mr. President, and all Republican and nationalist-minded people. First of all, it's an honour for me to be asked to speak here on this very hallowed ground today. Where many people spoke down through the years, I'm not going into names, the peer spoke here a year before his execution in 1915. Wolfe has been on everybody's lips, young or old. Maybe that has not been lectured in the schools or the colleges today, because things like that are not fashionable today in this ugly free state that we live in here in the 26 counties. Wolfe, as people know, was of a middle-class Protestant family, of his father at the time being a coach builder of the horse-drawn type. Probably could have turned his back and no need for him to become involved in the freedom of Ireland. He was probably comfortable enough. But funny enough, all those people, Robert is included, that took part in the 1798 rising, they were, many of them, of a Protestant or Presbyterian origin. And to hear that people say today that it's a religious war in the 6 occupied northeastern counties that the British hold to this present day, it sure tells them that it was not a war of religion, and it's not a war of religion, but a war of occupation. And on the lips of Wolfe was to break the connection with England for once and for all. A connection that has never been broken. An inspiration that came from Toad and his comrades, that inspired the men back after the Great Hunger that was bestowed on us by the British in 1845, or the common word that they like to use, the palliative life. But it was a genocide brought on by the British Crown when they shipped all the food out of Ireland. They don't want to hear that, but it's the bare fact of it. And it did happen. It inspired those men to rise in Canada and North America and call themselves the Young Irelanders, who were to be prominent in the upcoming fight of 1867 with the Féin. The fight that carried on, but defeat came again when we were together. In 1916, Pearse, who I mentioned, spoke, and Lee Mellows, they rose out against the British Crown. And I'm sure that 1798 was the flame that inspired them when they stood on the steps of the GPO on that Easter Monday morning and proclaimed the Irish Republic, a 22-county republic in arms, in the face of the world and in the face of heavy British military presence. Again, we were defeated, but we were together. In 1920, we started the Tan War. And again, that was the beginning of the signs of freedom when they were defeated in places like Kilmichael and other spots where they were ambushed all over Ireland. And then the treaty came. And in 22 we were divided. And Mellows and McKelvey and Rory O'Connor and Dick Barrett were the first 4 Irishmen to be executed under the new Free State government, founded days before the 8th of December when they were executed by the Free State. The very same men that was beside them and that broke bread with them and that slept with them on their own previous years. And there's no more evidence of that than in the county in Munster, and that's the county of Kerry, where they brought tar and petrol out from Tralee and threw down on top of their comrades in the Clashmelkin caves. because they knew where they were a hide, because they used the same dugouts themselves. We were never defeated. We were defeated, but we were never split and divided until 1922, and we've been divided since. And Joe O'Neill often said that no one ever defeated us except ourselves. In the 60s, we've seen many things happening. The 56 border campaign came to an end in 62. The British were driven out of Aden, and Charles de Gaulle came along and seen that it was no longer viable to hold Algiers or Algeria, so he gave them their freedom. But no talk of Irish freedom. Right down through the years, again in the 80s, many never heard of Nelson Mandela. 26 years in a British jail or in a South African jail, just to sign a bit of paper and he would be released at any time. He stuck it out and became the first black president of his country. Again, in the 80s, the Berlin Wall came down. It was applauded here in Ireland by the Free States, in Westminster by the Brits, and in America that Gorbachev at last had come along and he's given the Baltic people their freedom. Yes, not one word of our freedom. I remember being here in either 82 or 83, and the Lord Joe Cahill stood on that podium there, and he mentioned the stickies, and he called them the despicable stickies, or should we mention them? But all the time they were going down the very same slippy road as these who previously went and sold. There's no two ways that you can be a Republican. You either are one or the other. You cannot be serving in Leinster House, in Stormont, or be a part of the wing in Westminster and be still a Republican. You cannot do it. And I am saying to those people today to stay away from hallowed spots like this, and to leave it to those who are willing to carry on the torch of T-Ball Wolfe and to break that connection with England. We had two prominent heads of state recently missing our 26 county state. The Queen of England was here, and indeed she was made welcome by many who spoke but never got near her. So therefore, the Queen's visit to Ireland, let's face it, it was not a success. The President of the United States of America came shortly afterwards, and he could move around freely and mingle with the people. Not so with the Queen of England. She couldn't go, and she was protected wherever she went. So that's a sign that the fear is still in them. The fear of the risen people who has never broken the chain with republicanism, and who never will break the chain with republicanism until England are gone for once and for all.
You're here.
Many people are hoodwinked into that this is the beginning of the unification of Ireland. Certainly, the majority of the people in the cemetery today wouldn't say so, or neither would they think so. It is to strengthen English rule in Ireland. And I hope, lads, that you have tape recorders over there to bring back the message to them. Because we don't want to hear. We don't want the British government or any other government, be it Westminster or or Stormont. We want to get rid of them and have an Ireland Parliament of our own, and get rid of that sham that is below in Kildare Street, or whatever they call it, Leinster House, which is the cause of all the trouble today. So the Queen's visit to Ireland is not a normal one. But I suppose if they are to force these things, and these things are to happen, there are a couple of points that I would like to make before I finish up. And as I wouldn't class myself as a Republican, but I class myself as a nationalist Irishman. I might not be good enough or worthy to be a Republican when I think of what these people that are buried in cemeteries like this have gone through. But I know one thing: she should never be brought into the garden of remembrance. And I know that since the demons has been exercised over that place, that people went down there and our Republicans laid weeds. And most of all, as a common low-class Gael person, I'm galled that the GAA allowed her into Croke Park. And it tells you the leadership that we have in the GAA. And I will tell them when I meet them. And I'll tell Christy Cooney face to face when I meet them. And let them enter Croke Park, where in 1920 they shot 13 people and Michael Hogan, that the Hogan stand is called after. An association so gallant as the GAA, it tells you what they're gone to. The ordinary people on the ground, even who were not opposed to the Queen's visit that I've spoken to, they were called that she went into these two places, and they were called that she went into Croke Park. So when you meet them, tell them, and put it towards your clubs and mention it. It may not get carried, but let them know that we have an opposition, like we had an opposition to the British Army being let into the GAA, or to foreign games being let into Croke Park. No, we have nothing against foreign games, but we are a separate organisation. We are common low-class Gael, even though our leaders at the top may not look it. These people who are out there on the grassroots, they are the people. The Architecture Moran Elalaragham, a Pilhas, a Hort Conquested East, agus enough don't spot the shop. Agus Cunnahan, a Ian Arash, Wolfe Tone, agus a Hort Comrade. A Shotjeg, agus an Ian as a Hort. The Féin, the Hair na Hyoga, Hotjeg, agus up shots as a car. Agus the Féin, Hotjeg, shots as a shot. Agus an Piersoch, agus a Hort Comrade, agus Lima Malisa, a Has Kodangan, agus a Has a Pod, an Ejeg, Shejeg, a Honach, an Ayaramon na Platana, a Fejeg Fod, agus yet Féin agus a good Comrade, a Curraoin Boss, from Garrett the Year. Ishe a Harter, the Ochen, and Ishe Ram Laut, a Guilty Clahar, and a Choran, the Fermana, a Cunnahan Sean McDermott. Agus Kate Slot, Castaway to North of their pants. The Cackle Law, Gora Chile, the Gunbear Mana. It's Law. It's very hard to believe that when you were in Donegal or in Leitrim or any of the so-called bordering counties from Louth right through Monaghan and Cavan, that you are right on the verges of another country, which is completely untrue. And the British, for all their might and all the times that they boasted of the sun never gone down on their mighty empire, today they have left up that empire with the Falkland Islands, Gibraltar, below in Spain, the 6 occupied counties of the North East, Wales, Scotland, the Isle of Man, and of course we cannot forget our Celtic cousins who are also occupied and who don't class themselves as English, the Cornish people. Or